doctors are smart, but none of our training do we learn anything about financial intelligence.
Yeah, I think it's one thing, Kyle. It's a big problem for the industry because, like, even me having a business degree and an MBA, I was never trained at all on how to structure a transaction, how to raise capital, how to talk to investors. There wasn't a single class on
Richard C. Wilson, he's the founder of the Family Office Club, which is the world's largest community of ultra-wealthy investors with over 7,500 family offices and over $500 billion in assets under management. He is also my partner and co-founder of the Doctors Investor Club.
And so we started doing research on all the AI tools out there. We tried over 100 of them. Most of them sort of worked, half worked, weren't really made for our industry. So then we started creating our own ready-to-use artificial intelligence tools. These are already pre-trained tools for anyone in business looking to grow a business, or is investing, or screening opportunities, joint ventures, etc. So it analyzes over 50 areas of risk of a pitch deck, a PPM, an opportunity someone sends you over email.
Welcome to the Doctors Investor Club podcast, where physicians and dentists come together to elevate their mindset, build their assets, and create a lasting legacy. I'm your host, Dr. Kyle Stephenson. After years in the OR, I've realized wealth is not just about high income. It's about ownership, freedom, and using your money with purpose. Here at the Doctors Investor Club, we share the strategies the wealthy already know: owning a business, real estate investing, becoming your own banker, and intentional investing. Each week, we sit down with entrepreneurs, investors, and physicians who've stepped off the hamster wheel and are building wealth that outlives them. Because at the end of the day, it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep and the impact you leave behind. Let's get into today's episode. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Doctors Investor Club podcast, where physicians and dentists come together to elevate their mindset, build their assets, and create a lasting legacy. I'm your host, Dr. Kyle Stephenson, and today I am joined by someone very special. Not only is he the founder of the Family Office Club, which is the world's largest community of ultra-wealthy investors with over 7,500 family offices and over $500 billion in assets under management. He is also my partner and co-founder of the Doctors Investor Club. Please welcome back to the show, please welcome back to the show, Richard C. Wilson.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm actually named after my grandpa, who was Dr. Richard Wilson, but I'm not a doctor myself, just excited to partner with you on Doctors Investor Club, and appreciate you having me back on here.
Absolutely. We appreciate it. So Richard and I created the Doctors Investor Club because physicians and dentists deserve access to the same tools and strategies the wealthy already use. On today's episode, we're going to show you exactly what you get as part of this community: access to powerful AI tools, exclusive live events, and a private forum discussion right inside the mobile app. All right, so it's great to have you back on, Richard. So let's just get into it. Many of our listeners may know you from the Family Office Club. They've probably heard you on podcasts or seen you on social media. But now you've partnered with me to create the Doctors Investor Club. So can you share why you wanted to bring this level of expertise and strategy specifically to physicians and dentists?
Sure. Well, first of all, the smartest investors in the world diversify their assets. They want some real estate. They want to have some things like silver, gold, Bitcoin, etc. But they also usually specialize in one or two niches where they build their wealth and they play offense. And many times I've just found that you grow your wealth faster by focusing on that offensive game in an area or two. And I found it's really nice to work with people who are not going to be non-committal. Like when a doctor's gone to school for a decade and they did a residency and spent 5 or 10 years to get the experience, and maybe they've started a practice, we've just enjoyed investing into medical practices, which led to me making friends with dozens and dozens of doctors. And we really enjoyed working with them. Like, they're always committed, relatively disciplined and focused. They're good learners by the nature of what they have to do for their role. Their mindset is a baseline of helping people. And in the investment world and Wall Street world, some people have sharp elbows and some people run 12 companies at once. Like, we just really appreciate who doctors are. We also think there's an anti-private equity trend going on in the space, and to be able to grow a medical practice and fund it with the capital from other doctors who understand what you're doing, relate to it. You don't have to teach them the ABCs of it, but they're also not private equity that's going to own your soul if you sell to them one day. And also, if you raise capital for a medical practice from someone who built and sold a medical practice in the same niche, they are who you want to be when you grow up. It's just much better than like selling to private equity. And so that's one reason we're in the area. And the final thing I'd say is just that I've been doing this for 18 years, and it's similar to a doctor going to school for a decade, do a residency, practicing for 5 to 8 years. And I'm constantly learning more. I've attended all 300 of the events we've hosted in our investor club. We do 22 to 30 events a year, and I'm always learning more. So we're really far down the rabbit hole of how to structure deals, negotiate deals, how to raise capital, how to talk to investors, what to do as an investor, where to focus your energy, all that stuff. And we just want to transfer that over to doctors in an exclusive peer-to-peer community, et cetera, which we can get into more about like how we're doing that and what that means.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's powerful. It's a powerful connection because
Yeah.
doctors are smart, but in none of our training do we learn anything about financial intelligence. And I would
Right.
even argue dentists probably do, chiropractors do, because more times than not, they go out and they buy a practice or they join a private group. And now, I mean, physicians, 75% of physicians are employed by either a hospital or private equity, and so you never really get that experience with business. So understanding how to structure deals, understanding what to invest in, other than what your financial advisor is telling you, right? So
Yeah, I think it's one thing, Kyle. It's a big problem for the industry because like even me having a business degree and an MBA, I was never trained at all on how to structure a transaction, how to raise capital, how to talk to investors. There wasn't a single class on that. The finance classes were about liquidity ratios, public markets, reading financial statements, which is valuable, but none of it was about structuring deals, raising capital, or practical matters related to running a business, really. So it's not just doctors. It's like everyone needs this, but doctors do, especially for all the reasons you just talked about. So completely agreed.
yeah, that's great. Well, good. Let's get into and we just talked about it, but so the Doctors Investor Club. Can you get into I think a lot of why I started the podcast in general, it started with, let's educate on real estate investing. But then the more doctors I talked to, the more I realized we actually have more of the middle class mindset. The white coat investors out there, I think a lot of that is just geared towards the middle class mindset. How do physicians start thinking, make that shift and start thinking more like the wealthy?
Right, right. Yeah. One way is to not try to be the herd, not follow the herd. If you're always following the herd into trends, you're going to be most often buying at the top or after a big run up, right? I think that those who are wealthy often position themselves to do well by following their own conviction and basically breaking up their portfolio into three sections. They have mass diversification in the public markets. They have a section for real estate, but in that area, they usually specialize in just two or three areas of real estate and usually start with just one, then diversify to two or three. And then that third area of their portfolio on top of public markets and real estate would be choosing just one or two sandboxes where you want to play offense. And in that way, there's probably a different brain trust that overlooks public markets. There's probably a different brain trust that helps you overlook real estate. And then where you play offense is usually with your own brain and team and your own laser focus. And I think that that is just one example of how not to think like others. And I think that part of this is figuring out how do you have your cake and eat it too, right?
Mhm.
Like, how do you grow a business, but also be able to invest in public markets and not feel like, oh, well, if I invest in Bitcoin, now I have no money for this other thing, and figure out how to have more of an abundance mindset to structuring your investments.
Yep, that's great. All right, so with that being said, how does Doctors Investor Club do that? How is that going to help physicians?
I had a
Hold
sucker. I had a green
Sorry.
No
sucker.
worries.
Okay.
And both of our suckers have bubblegum in it.
Oh, yummy.
This is my green bubbles.
Hey.
I have green bubblegum.
Yum, yum, yum.
Mine.
Hey, step out real quick. Hey, I'll come chat in a minute.
Okay. Me or you.
I brought my 8-year-old to my last event, as I think you probably
Yes.
heard and saw, and Luna came with me, and it made the event much more fun, dynamic. I probably had 50 people come up and say like, "Oh my God, I love that you brought your daughter.
Yeah.
You involve them." And I've had podcasts before where they come up and like say hi on camera, and and stuff like that. So
Which is awesome.
that happens to me often.
Oh yeah. I did a podcast once and the kids came downstairs. They were both naked and they're like climbing on me. And the guest was like, just keep that in there. Everybody needs to see that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So with that being said, how does Doctors Investor Club bring all that in? How does that take physicians and create a cool atmosphere for success to think more like a wealthy?
Sure. I think like to back up, like anybody could start a doctor related investor club. And like, what does it really mean, right? It's just an idea unless there's like execution behind it, right? So I think to add context to all of this, for the last 18 years, I've been running an investor club called Family Office Club. And 3 years ago, we started to formalize Doctors Investor Club, but we were really waiting until we had the right kind of quarterback, like a surgeon like yourself, to kind of be the co-head of it with me. And so for 18 years, we've hosted these 300 live events. We have 20 full-time employees. We have like 40 plus artificial intelligence tools that you can use to conduct due diligence on deals and structure deals and make smarter investment decisions, all of that stuff. And so what we've done is created a private, exclusive, just for doctors and dentists mobile app where people can be in a discussion board with each other in discussion forums. You can talk about doctor challenges, issues, could be related to investing or just business or just career advice, et cetera. It doesn't matter. It's just all doctors in there. And then in addition to that, which has links to some of the free AI tools, you can come to any of our 30 live events we have planned next year. And we have 5 more events coming up just here in 2025. But 30 live events you can go to, plus the mobile app, plus the 30 plus AI tools is a combination that no other investor club is offering to doctors. And we're offering it for free because all we want to do is build, 500 person, 1,000 doctor community of peers that can talk to each other in that way and meet up at live events and learn from decamillionaires, centimillionaires, billionaires. Who you spend time with matters more than what you do in life. If you spend a whole lot of time with professional athletes, or you spend a whole lot of time with a certain type of doctor, et cetera, you're going to start thinking like them, and you're going to pick up their strategies, their mindset, their attitude, what they're focused on, what they prioritize. And so that's the whole point of meeting in person, but also having like the mobile app to make connections between doctors.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, most physicians have read the White Coat Investor book by Jim Daly. Most are in the Facebook forum group or, check out his blogs. How does this group set us apart from that one?
Sure. Yeah, and I've known Jim for over a decade and met him in person several times. So basically, what's different is that most doctor investor club or investor clubs in general meet in person 1 time a year, or maybe at most 4 times. And if you've got a wedding anniversary or a surgery that you're doing as an orthopedic surgeon or whatever it is, that time you might miss that 1 time to meet in person. We're offering 30 live events a year, which out of 1,300 total investor clubs on planet Earth, there's only 5 that offer 30 or more events a year. And none of them are attached to a doctor's investor club. So that's something that makes us totally different. Also, not just within doctors investor clubs, but of any investor club globally, we have more ready to use artificial intelligence tools. And I could show you how just 2 of the 40 plus work that we've designed and have available for doctors here in a minute. But the AI tools basically take your IQ in a certain domain, like how to structure a business deal or how to conduct due diligence. And whatever your IQ level is there, like level of intelligence there, maybe it's a IQ of 110 on due diligence, it'll instantly boost it up. It doesn't replace a human looking at something carefully, but it can really protect your time, and it can really save you time and make you more thorough, more effective on conducting due diligence. So these are like specific domain IQ boosters for all different areas of investing, growing a business, conducting due diligence. So I would say that the AI tools combined with the meeting in person is really the meat of what makes us different and what's most exciting to people. Behind the scenes on kind of how the sausage is made, we've got 17.9 million social media group members behind our core investor club. And that is how we attract like deal flow, some of these wealthy families, the speakers on stage. That matters less though. The real value the doctors will feel is the forum online, the in-person events, and the AI tools.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I just want to say before we get into the AI tools, because we're about to get into two of the most powerful AI tools. But I just want to say, I was honored to be in Beverly Hills a few weeks ago at the Investor Summit, and I was blown away. I mean, just the structure of it all, the type of people that were in the room, just very high quality, high integrity people, and then even being, rubbing elbows with some professional athletes or former professional athletes was pretty cool to see. Yeah, just being in the right rooms, and that's what this does. Is it helps you be in those right rooms to be able to connect with these people and even deal flow. Things that otherwise us as physicians just wouldn't get into.
Right, right. Yeah, we at every summit we have a NBA, NFL kind of pro athlete discussion panel. We usually have a billion-dollar plus wealth advisor panel. If you want to be learning from those folks, we have like an angel investor, private investor panel. We'll usually have one on technology, new trends, AI, crypto type robotics panel. We also do panels on how to structure deals. We'll rate investments online, have investors comment on why they would rate the investment, which is kind of fun. And then we always do some keynotes with like a decamillionaire or a centimillionaire that's worth 10 to 100 million plus and say, well, how did you scale your business to sell? Like the founder of the e-channel, or, we've interviewed Tony Robbins and Mark Cuban and Tim Draper and Jeff Hoffman and Grant Cardone. Those last two have come to speak several times. And importantly, in our community, we're very fast moving. I get bored very quickly, like many physicians and CEO types do, because you have to move fast during your normal day. So sitting at a conference and watching a talk on the price of gold over 50 years for 45 minutes will like put people to sleep. So we never do that. And then the other thing is that we don't pay any of our speakers to be there. Like a lot of conferences these days, they'll pay some Army general $100,000 or pay David Goggins, $50 or $250,000 to come speak, and they have all these keynotes to try to attract people in the room. At our events, we pay zero speaker fees to anybody. People come because they want to make connections, they want to source opportunities, they want to learn from each other, and I think that makes it more of a real, genuine community. And I think that's what we try to really emphasize is like the way to be successful in investments is all based on trust. So the more authentic, genuine, and the more of a class act you are, and you actually execute and show up and do what you said you're going to do, and represent yourself accurately, the more people want to do business with you. So the class act person wins when it comes to investing. And the person who runs around trying to hawk a deal saying it's going to make you 10x your money is the person that if we see that too much, we'll remove them from the club. And, we kicked out one person today, refunded their money, and just told them they just weren't a fit in terms of their values. And we only have to do that once or twice a quarter, but we do that actively to make sure that we have a healthy community.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, reputation matters, more than anything. So that's great.
Yeah.
One other connection that I'll mention is, the keynote speaker in Beverly Hills was Metta World Peace, formerly known as Ron Artest, NBA player with the Indiana Pacers, a couple other teams, and then won a championship with the LA Lakers. He was very impressive. If people remember him from like the NBA days, he was a great athlete, great player, but his business acumen has really grown a ton since he's been done with the NBA. And then I met him at the Centimillionaire dinner, and we exchanged numbers. And then he connected me with his business partner. And I just had the last podcast I just did was with Stephen Stokels, who is the business partner of Metta World Peace. So it was just neat to have those connections and those conversations that I had to pinch myself. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah. What's interesting is one of the projects we did, it took me 12 years to buy this asset. We negotiated every 2 to 4 months. I followed up for 12 years, and I bought billionaires.com, and there's nothing for sale there, but you can read my 47 or watch my 47 interviews with billionaires. And I bring it up because I've also read 131 books authored by billionaires, and I apply those lessons to my business. And the more that I read the books and interview these guys, and the more that I've interviewed and seen interviewed on my stages, about 60 pro athletes, the more that all of them are saying the same thing, that you can look at my actions, but you can't copy the actions verbatim because time has moved on and you can't buy crypto at $100 per coin anymore. So it's not like you can just copy people's actions and become super wealthy. It's more about, and they emphasize this in all their books and on stage, it's more about their mindset and their actions and aligning having discipline and grit of a pro athlete and the work ethic of a pro athlete, with the ability to have like disciplined, learning and knowledge gain of like a doctor, but then also to be thinking big, thinking creatively, don't follow the herd, be unique in a very powerful way, and find something very scalable. And it's expecting excellence from yourself and those around you. And it's like the mindset pieces are really what the billionaires are trying to transfer when they write a book, when they speak on stage, because they know if you just got this mindset, it doesn't matter if you don't have all the capital in the world, or if you aren't born wealthy, or you feel like stuck as a doctor and you feel like you're getting a little bit burnt out by how many patients you have to see per day, et cetera. But your mindset is what can change your reality. And I think that's very empowering and exciting. And I didn't expect that to be what I would find. Honestly, like everyone else, I'd love to find little process shortcuts. You're like, oh, I just need to do this, and then everything's magically better. And you get little hints of things you should probably do. But it all comes down to mindset. And so for me, it's mindset training and listening to the pro athletes, the billionaires, centimillionaires, ultra wealthy family offices. I just want that coming into my brain constantly, because I think unpredictable good things will happen. And billionaires are always saying, who you spend your time with matters more than what you set out to do. And Tony Robbins said, proximity is power. Who you spend your time with is the reason why he made $400 million off of one transaction, because he was hanging out with the right people.
Yes, I love that. That is fantastic. We could just end the podcast right there. That's great. All right. So let's get into the AI tools.
Sure.
So one of the most exciting parts of the Doctors Investor Club is the access to these cutting edge AI tools, and they'll help doctors and dentists save time and make better decisions. I mean, there's no question that time is a valuable resource, and we spend a lot of time in surgery or dealing with patients. So if you could walk us through two of them. Dewey is the due diligence, and then the second one is hyperintelligence. So we can put it up on the screen.
Yep. Yeah. I'll pull it up here. And just as a quick kind of side to this, we hosted an AI workshop, and I realized that the world is changing so quickly that we need to get on top of the whole AI trend. And so we started doing research on all the AI tools out there. We tried over 100 of them. Most of them sort of worked, half worked, weren't really made for our industry. So then we started creating our own ready-to-use artificial intelligence tools. These are already pre-trained tools for anyone in business looking to grow a business, or is investing, or screening opportunities, joint ventures, et cetera. So it should be helpful to almost all physicians in multiple ways. And so this is one example. We call this tool Dewey, Instant Due Diligence Advisor. Over 1,000 due diligence reports have been run through here, and we restrict this only to our members. But you get this for free as part of Doctors Investor Club. And it is the most practical and easy to use, but very powerful due diligence tool. So it analyzes over 50 areas of risk of a pitch deck, a PPM, an opportunity someone sends you over email. You can conduct due diligence on a person and see their level of credibility, make sure they don't come up on Google as Ponzi scheme or fraud or conviction or whatever that you would normally want to search all those terms in Google. It can do that for you right here. It can act as a forensic accountant for you and do much, much more. So think about it like if you found some sort of due diligence nerd who memorized 150 white papers and checklists on due diligence best practices and how to analyze risk in a deal, and you had them memorize those 150 resources and said, I'm going to text you 24/7, night or day, upload PDFs to you of things that get thrown at me, and people are asking me to get on phone calls, and I don't know if it's a waste of my time. I want to be able to upload those to you, and you analyze it in 50 ways, identify the top risks, and tell me what are the top 7 questions I should be asking about how to de-risk this opportunity, or about whether this opportunity is real or credible or not. So I just typed in here, run a deep due diligence report on this deal for me. I uploaded a PDF of an investment deal that I was sent recently. And then what it's going to do here is analyze this. It usually takes about 15 seconds or so to go through the pitch deck, analyze it, identify risks, and then it's going to start analyzing that and producing the report. So you can see that probably in real time coming out here. And it first identifies what the deal is, what is the legal structure for the deal, What is the investment summary, the fees of the deal? Because otherwise, sometimes you get these 40-page pitch decks or these long opportunities or an essay long email. And you might look at just the legal structure and the fee structure and be like, oh, I'm out. I don't like deals that are like that. Or like, oh, it's a dry cleaner startup in Zimbabwe. I'm not from there. I don't know the legal system there, so I'm probably out. Like just as an extreme example. And after it goes through the basics of the deal, it breaks down the deal in more details: the split of equity, split of fees, the team experience, other notable things about the deal. It then will score the deal on a risk basis, and it scores this one a 61 out of 100. It looks at first principles. What are the major assumptions in the deal at the most basic level? It also looks at falsibility tests. Like if a couple of these assumptions were wrong, if any one of these was wrong, the whole investment thesis doesn't work. So think carefully about whether these are wrong. It gives you a risk matrix and tells you whether it's low, medium, or high risk on these major types of risk that usually exist in deals. Major claims, signal to noise ratio, and then most importantly, it gives you 7 questions you should ask first. The reason I want to emphasize this is that all of us are short on time. All of us have more coming at us than ever before. And before you get on a phone call or say, yes, we can meet up for coffee, put materials into here, get the 7 questions out, copy paste those into an email and say, great, can you first just answer a couple of upfront questions for me? And then if they never reply to your email, you saved yourself some time. If they reply with horrible answers, you saved yourself some time. If they reply with something that doesn't make sense or is interesting, you can always reply back with more questions. But you basically can save yourself dozens of hours of time per year, dodge some bullets, identify risks you would have missed. And you can use this on 140-page contracts or documents or proposals that even an attorney might have their eyes glaze over by page 89, and a non-attorney is never going to understand all the legalese, investment terms in there. So this can be used on contracts, all different types of things that are pitched at you. So I can show another tool, but I just wanted to mention this is just one of the 40 plus tools that we have developed for our investor club. And just by being a member of Doctor's Investor Club, you get 30 plus of these tools for free. And this one tool alone can save you $25,000 to $100,000 on a single bad investment that you may do for some new exciting AI startup or med tech startup or medical device that might sound sexy, right? Nobody shows a bad perform on any deal pitch. But that's basically the Dewey tool. I don't know if you want me to stop for a second, Kyle, on that, if you have any questions before we go on to the next one. But.
Sure. Yeah. So first thing I would say is if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure to get on YouTube so you can really see what's going on because it's really neat to see that, the whole breakdown. And then the other thing I'll say is it's impressive what it can do. And it's cool that it's not just the deals, but it's also the operator, which is a big deal. That's important. Obviously, it's sometimes more about the jockey than it is the horse, right? And then the other thing I want to ask you is when you see that score, I think that one was like a 61 out of 100. Is there a certain number where you look at it and you're like, okay, this one's definitely out? Like it's an easy no because you see a certain score? Or
good question. I'm not that harsh on it because of that. I've built it to be hard on people. I don't know if I've ever seen one score over a 90. But maybe some sort of Blackstone deck of some $100 billion fund that is as credible in every way possible would have a score that high. So I'm not that harsh on it. I review it and just take that into context. What matters most to me is it unique? Are they doing something and I can understand the value creation? And is the story here so credible and exciting? It makes me lean forward and say, whoa, this is like night and day better than everything else people are sending me right now. One of the challenges that doctors have, Kyle, and this is like, we should have mentioned this up front, is that it's the same trouble my friend had in Florida. He sold his company. He then said, I've been getting so much deal flow. I've probably been sent 30 investment opportunities the last 3 years. But just at our Beverly Hills event, you could look at 100 investment opportunities out of the 400 people there. And so the point is, like, if you only see 30 deals every 3 years, what's the top 10% of those deals? Are you seeing, 3 good deals a year? But like, what if you saw 400 deals? Then are you seeing 40 good deals a year? Well, 4 of the 400 deals are going to be night and day, way superior, far better than the other 36 out of 40. So my point is that hopefully you're only investing in top 1% or 0.1% deals, not top 10% deals. And that's part of the benefit of being an investor club is like, if you see 400 apples of all different varieties, picking out the best apple and the sweetest apple becomes easier. If you're only seeing 4 apples a year, it's like, oh, well, that one sounds good, or that looks good. And then you might invest. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And so you have these AI tools, but you also have the community. And so it's like the more deals that we talk to each other about, the better that is. You may only see 4,
Right.
but then somebody else is seeing 4 and somebody else is seeing 4. And so, we all start to get together and we're like, hey guys, we can actually say no to a lot more because now we have more deal flow that we can discuss with each other
Right.
and get on the same page.
Right. And it's really important to meet in person with people. It's like, it's easier to pay attention. And like at our annual event, we'll have about 1,000 people there, 125 speakers on stage over 3 days in Fort Lauderdale. And the thing is that when you hear 125 speakers on stage, it's almost impossible to sit at home and just stream that and then stare at the screen for like 6-7 hours a day for 3 days straight. But in person, it's dynamic. You do networking during lunch, before the event, during a break, etc. And so it's much easier to be fully engaged and pay attention. You absorb more, and then you really should not be investing meaningful amounts of money with people unless you've met them in person or walked through their business or met their team. You can learn more about somebody in 3 minutes in person than a 30-page pitch deck that you look at for an hour.
Yeah.
And so AI tools never replace hiring a real accountant or a real attorney if you're investing anything over a couple of $1,000s probably. And meeting in person is always superior to anything you can do with AI or email or Zoom, et cetera.
Yep, love that. Real quick question before we get into the next AI tool. This is really more for my curiosity, but I think listeners would find this interesting as well. What are your thoughts on, how much should we as physicians and dentists try to understand macroeconomics on just what's going on with, globally in the country, understanding crypto versus, the value of the dollar just keeps going down. We see gold continue to rise, which basically rides with inflation.
Right.
How important do you think that is for us to understand that before we really dive into certain deals?
Yeah, I think it is important. It's really important when you look at a specific deal that you understand how they add value to their niche, how they create value or force appreciation. That's 100% important. It's not important in my mind to study macroeconomics to such a degree where you're like always watching the news, always reading the news, always obsessing over that. Honestly, you want to be aware on a high level. You want to be educated. And then we talked about those 3 buckets. You want to choose the right people to inform you on those 3 buckets. And when it comes to your real estate bucket, it's good to know the demographic trends of like, these are the states where everyone is seeing demographic growth, where the CEOs are moving to, where the wealth is moving to, or where jobs are being created. Right now, a huge trend is data center creation, AI, robotics. And even before then, energy was in high demand. Now we need massively more energy. So areas that have the lowest cost of energy in the US, you can probably guess what's going to happen to them if they have some other good infrastructure dynamics going on. It's like better chance than average of seeing some growth, right? Especially if they're pro energy industry in some way. So that's a good example of it. I would say that interest rates impact real estate and almost all investments directly or indirectly, whether they state they're independent from it or not. So that's important to understand the dynamics of interest rates. I would study Ray Dalio and how he talks about and explains how the economy works, how money works, how the monetary system works. Ray Dalio is a multi-billionaire hedge fund manager, is one of the most respected voices in finance, whether you're Democrat, Republican, etc. People respect Ray Dalio and respect his intelligence, and he really puts a lot of effort into breaking things down and making them visual and easy. And the last thing I would say is that recently Bitcoin, gold, and silver have come up 3 times more than they did just 2 to 3 years ago. And a lot of my clients are putting a larger percentage of their net worth. They used to put 2 to 3%, and they're putting 5 to 15% into Bitcoin, silver, and gold in some cases, right? I don't know who you are, whoever you're listening. If you want to come to Doctors Investor Club, come to our events, I'd love to know who you are, but I'm obviously not your financial advisor. So I wouldn't go run off and make any change to your portfolio without talking to an expert on diversification, an expert in real estate, and figuring out your offensive game. But just to like share some things where like you have to choose your battles as a physician, being very busy. I would study Ray Dalio, come to our events, register for Doctors Investor Club for free, learn a little bit about interest rates, and like really consider what are you doing with silver, gold, or Bitcoin. You know, I don't make any money on any of those things by you buying it. And like many investor clubs are out there really to sell you passive real estate or to sell you insurance. And we're not. Like, we just want to sell you on joining the Doctors Investor Club. So it's not a sneaky sales pitch for any of these things, but I do. You know, we hold a lot of Bitcoin and crypto, and we're a believer in it. And not investing in it means that you're passively deciding to make a major investment in US dollars that is guaranteed to go down in value. So you're guaranteeing a loss on your money if you keep your money in fiat. It's one way to look at it.
That is fantastic, man. I love that. And 2 points on that. So the Ray Dalio, there's a 30-minute video on YouTube where he explains the whole market cycles. That is awesome. 30 minutes is all it is. And it explains it so well. Ray Dalio is a genius. His book Principles is awesome. And then the other thing with Bitcoin is I've always had some, but I never really understood it. And finally read the Bitcoin Standard, which I want to say in 2020, I read something like the Gold Standard or something like that, where it explains the whole history of fiat currency, really like currency back in, even, 0 BC or whatever, like from the start of time, and how currency works and how it's working now, and just how Bitcoin, it will blow your mind. You're like, wow, I didn't really understand this, but it's truly finite. The reason gold does well in these markets and continues to hold its value is because it's scarce. But Bitcoin is truly finite. They can't make any more of it. And so it's actually probably a better hedge than gold.
Right. It's more transportable. And it's like if they said you can only mine 21 million ounces of gold ever. And once that's done, you can't mine anymore. Oh, and by the way, some people lock their gold in vaults and lose their keys. So that gold's basically gone and can never be touched or sold. And so I think that is like super interesting. And there's a Harvard Business Review article that basically says, should you trust your gut? And part of investing is having the courage to do some things that are different than everyone else, or you'll end up like everyone else. And the Harvard Business Review article said, basically, it depends what your gut is made out of. And so if your gut's made out of being a dermatologist for 13 years, consider that even if you're burnt out on being a dermatologist, and maybe you're not, maybe you love it, you love seeing your patients, but consider the fact that you've spent so much time in that space. Maybe there's a dermatologist coming out of school that needs help getting a start. And maybe you could be a passive investor and own 20% of their dermatology practice, but help them grow it to twice the size faster than it took you, having to learn things the hard way. Right. And so that's important to understand, because a lot of doctors I talk to feel lost. They're like, I don't want to be in dentistry anymore. I don't want to do surgery anymore. What should I do? Should I open up a sports bar? And I'm like, hey, well, you spent 30,000 hours specializing your brain. Like, use that specialized brain and maybe a little bit of your money. We might not even have to use your money. They might just literally give you equity because you have this super specialized brain, and you are who they want to be when they grow up. So that's something I wanted to make sure and mention during this interview. And the other thing is Howard Marks is one of the other most respected billionaires out there in investments. He's also a hedge fund manager. He wrote a book called The Most Important Thing. In that book, he basically says, even at his level of wealth, making billions of dollars, he is not so brass to say like, oh, well, I can predict the future. Like, you'll hear people saying like, oh, I've predicted every crash, or like, I know everything. And like, I would run away from those people instantly. Basically what Howard Marks says is that you might not be able to predict the future. I can't, but you should be able to stick your head out the window and just see which direction you're headed in. It's like, okay, things are swinging this way. Okay, it seems like this trend is happening. And the tough thing about being in business, being an entrepreneur, the tough thing with life is that if you wait until it's deadly obvious the trade closes and now you don't make so much, right? Like, oh, maybe we should invest in Nvidia. Like, all right, well, it's already worth trillions and trillions, and like one of my clients bought Nvidia at $3 a share and did amazing on it. Like, obviously, looking back, hindsight's 2020, but the adoption rate of Bitcoin right now is equal to the internet in the 1990s. And many, including Blackstone, Ray Dalio, the country of Bhutan is a top 10 holder of Bitcoin. The United States, I heard today, was the number 2 holder of Bitcoin. Many people believe it will get to at least 1 million per coin eventually. And I'm biased. I hold Bitcoin. So someone could say I'm saying that just to promote it. But if you look online, lots of consensus is coming around the fact that who knows if it'll get to 3 million by 2040 or be at 13 million if you listen to Michael Saylor. But the point is that trade will close eventually, and people that look back are like, man, I should have bought more at 5K, 10K, 20K. I feel so dumb. But Michael Saylor says, well, you're going to feel dumb when you're like, I could have bought more at 111K, and now I lost 13 million a coin I didn't buy. So the trade is not closed, but with all types of things, the more it becomes obvious and everyone thinks it's the smart thing, the more that there's no money to be made left in that trade sometimes. So it's just one thing to look for these trends and try to get in front of these macro trends of like robotics, quantum computing, Bitcoin, etc.
Yes, that's great. Well, perfect. I mean, now segue into the next AI tool. I think Hyperintelligent is a great AI tool to go over next. Like
Sure.
you said, there's 30 plus, but yeah, this is a really good one. This can help doctors and dentists, make smarter, faster investment decisions. So I want you to go through it here. We'll get it pulled up.
Sure. Yeah, so as you can imagine, we've created exactly 57 artificial intelligence tools, but about a dozen are just for my internal team. But then we have 30 plus for Doctors Investor Club, and we've got a dozen or so premium ones that are just for capital raiser types that you really don't need as a doctor. But the point of explaining that is that when you gather that much data, it means we have well over 100 million data points backing up all of these different AI tools. We have structured prompts, structured output, next steps, multi-step interpretation of data for all of these different AI tools. And like some of the AI tools help you structure a deal. Some help you write a one-liner about your medical practice. Some of them help you identify strategic choke points in your industry. One of them takes 1,050 public talks from billionaires, puts it all into Billionaire Collective Intelligence tool, and you can get advice from billionaires and get actual quotes from billionaires, but also interpreting their quote for your question and for your situation. We also transcribed all 1,500 talks from our 300 live events of investors speaking on stage, transcribed all of their thoughts on stage and strategies, put them all into a tool called Investor Advantage, and you can have a conversation with that and bounce your ideas off of that. So we have full day workshops where we try to explain what I just said in a minute and a half, but it goes very deep on like all those different tools. So what I found myself doing all the time was opening up GPT, maybe opening up Grok, opening up 3 of my favorite AI tools we've created that are most appropriate for the question at hand. And then I would have to get a prompt and put it into all 5 of the windows and then push enter on all 5, then review the results from all 5. It just was kind of obnoxious. So I also got feedback from my team like, hey, Richard, do you have enough of these AI tools? I don't know if anyone needs AI tool number 58. So I said, okay, I hear you. We have a lot of them out there now. We've probably covered most of the main areas people are asking for, but we created this new one called Hyperintelligent, and it's using a swarm intelligence approach. This is what Grok Heavy uses. They basically dispatch 12 agents, 12 different AI tools at once, thinking about the problem from 12 different angles, analyzing it, arguing with each other based on who is the most credible argument, and it comes out with an opinion. It votes on things, provides you a consensus angle on something to consider, and gives you advice as well. So we created our own swarm intelligence tool. We call it Hyperintelligent. It's one of my top 3 favorite tools that we've created out of all of them because it leverages all of the data and all of the best things that we've learned across all these different perspectives. And you're basically getting advice from 1,050 public talks from billionaires, 1,500 investors speaking on stage, but also a super nerd on due diligence, a super nerd on deal structuring, a super nerd on how to do marketing and positioning and dialing in your communications. So I'm going to show on stage here, on the screen here, I typed in, I'm investing in a medical practice with 2.5 million in revenue, 500K in profits, and I want to potentially invest in it. Should I invest in debt or equity? Please vote and tell me which way to go. Also, what are the top tips or feedback on this deal and things I should keep in mind? Now, granted, if you uploaded a pitch deck on this deal, if you said, now please also reference this detailed email below, which gives you all the financials on the deal, all of the details, the team, etc. The more context you give these tools, the more robust and dialed in the answer will be, of course. You can also hit the audio button and you can record audio messages. You can upload PDFs, you can upload zip files, you can do a Dropbox link. You can put all types of data, Excel spreadsheets into here and have it analyze all of that and give it a really long detailed prompt, and it will bounce it off all these 100 million data points. So let's push enter here. Like all of our other tools, sometimes it'll start working in 2 to 3 seconds. Sometimes it'll be 5 to 15 seconds, and then it will start spitting out the answer. And what this tool is doing is we found a way, instead of having one data set, it calls upon the 20 different data sets and analyzes what you've asked and then bounces it off all of them. And then it takes the time to vote, rank, analyze, and give you the feedback. So here it's repeating what I asked for, and it's giving you 20 different perspectives. So this first perspective is from Ivan, from the Investor Advantage perspective, with the 1,500 investors on stage. And it's telling you that you should invest in equity, not debt. That's what its vote is. It's telling you why, and it gives you an extra tip. Bill from Billionaire Collective Intelligence also says equity. Why? And it has a little quote, etc. And so you can get the idea here. There's all different perspectives, from a sophisticated CEO to a real estate focused expert to a growth investor, tax strategist, from Dewey, from a due diligence perspective, Zena, the deal negotiator expert, etc. So I won't read them all off to you to bore you or anything, but we basically have 20 different perspectives to consider here, including my own perspective, because I've written 13 books and put on 70 full day workshops on investing, and I've transcribed all those and put it into a tool called Coffee with Richard Wilson, and you can chat with me virtually basically and ask me stuff. So you tally up all the votes here, and it's basically saying that 16 of the perspectives said to vote on equity and not invest via debt. It gives you a consensus summary and basically tells you the confidence score of how sure they are about the answer and different things to keep in mind as well. It then asks you what you want to do to go deeper, etc. So I think you get the point, but basically it's like if you don't pay for, so like I see AI as like a second brain. And if you are walking around the world and other people are driving a car, that is equal to using AI versus not. AI is improving by up to 27 times per year. And if that is your second brain and you have a GPT account, you just have the free version, it has an IQ of 105. So you're choosing to have your second brain be mentally impaired if you won't pay the $20 a month, basically. If you pay $20 a month, it has an IQ of between 115 and 125. Now your second brain is top 10% smart. Maybe I think that doctors have to be at least top 10% smart. So I would guess that your second brain now is doctor quality brain, even though it's not as smart as any doctor yet. It's trying to get there. But if you pay for the $200 a month GPT, it has a 135 IQ, and you're choosing to have your second brain be super intelligent. And so the trick here is to use AI tools to be more intelligent on these little specific tasks and have something to bounce your ideas off of. And that's what hyperintelligence is all about. So sorry, it's such a long explanation, but I just find it amazing that this stuff's even possible. And it wasn't possible like 2 years ago. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's very powerful. I use it all the time. I mean, both of those two apps, AI tools, excuse me. I use it all the time on different things. And sometimes it's something simple. Other times it's you put in the whole PDF of a certain deal maybe. And it's just amazing what comes out. And it just gives you a little bit more confidence in what you're doing.
Yeah, totally. I've had 2 examples of that. One time I explained what was going on with an employee and I said, should I give them another chance or should I let them go? And 19 out of 20 of the votes were to let them go. And the funny part about it is I talked to my wife, she said, let him go. I talked to my executive assistant, they said, let him go. I talked to my brother, they said, let him go. And even the way I typed it in, it was almost a leading question. And so somebody pointed that out to me, like, well, you pretty much told the AI what you wanted to do. I was like, well, just making me write it out made me realize how obvious it was I needed to let him go. And so it was helpful, even though the result wasn't as helpful as the process. And then in another case, somebody sent me something. I was like, that is wild that they would claim that. It just seems wild. Like, it's so risky and like such a high projection. But maybe it's just my perspective. And I put it in Hyperintelligent, had them all vote. Like, is this realistic, or is this like wild and way out there? And it agreed that it was ridiculously wild, and not even the highest performing Blackstone real estate fund ever would come close to ever touching the performance of what the person was claiming they could do. And they had a brand new platform and a brand new fund that was not super credible at all. And I was like, okay, I'm not crazy. Like, it's like, this is wild, and they shouldn't be saying these things. And, I nicely gave the client that feedback. And that was just really helpful, like in real time, to be like, okay, let me look at what big data says on this. And in my data sets, not just GPT, that matters a lot.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just thinking of, even in the last week, I get text messages or Instagram messages, LinkedIn, whatever it is, from physicians who are like, hey man, I'm successful. I'm running this, my joint practice. I'm on call at 2 different hospitals. I'm crazy busy. I got young kids at home doing all these things. Like, how do I even get started? And I feel like Doctors Investor Club is perfect for that physician who's crazy busy, doesn't have time to think for themselves. They literally just have the financial advisor, like, running their finances. And so these AI tools are so imperative to knock this out in all of 5 minutes.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think that like the important thing to understand is that if you go to GPT, the screen I'm sharing here shows like basically GPT is fed by Wikipedia, by Reddit, by podcasts like this, by all types of information all over the web. It just sucks everything in like a vortex and then produces the best, most credible answer it can. But what are your answers coming from? Some podcasts are run by a 17-year-old kid with no experience. Some Wikipedia posts have been edited 19 times by someone with a lot of free time on their hands with no experience in the real world. And so what we have is a funnel and AI tools that are fed strictly with data from investors who've spoken on stage, from billionaires only, et cetera. And the results you get from asking for feedback from the collective intelligence of 1,000 billionaire talks is going to be wildly different than the average thoughts of a podcaster. No offense to myself and yourself who have podcasts, but like, it's just kind of, it's different, right? It's garbage in, garbage out, right? If you ask doctors for feedback on a health concern, you're going to get a different answer than if you ask Wikipedia or random people at a AC/DC concert for health feedback, right? Like, it's not going to be the same. And I think that is something that is, missed many times when people aren't familiar with AI tools and just how they work in general.
So, Richard, you talked about the mindset shift that people need to make in general, or that billionaires talk about, and all these books. The first couple chapters is mindset. So, what is one thing that can help physicians or dentists change that mindset? What should they be doing?
Right. I go into these in extreme focus modes that really help me. So I'll do something like say, all right, I'm not reading any books unless they're authored by a billionaire. And if you want to start down, and you might not want to read all 230 billionaire books, but if you want the top 10, I've got those listed out at billionaires.com/books. And I've got links to where they are on Amazon if you want to pick some up on Audible, et cetera. So that would be one thing, because now you're injecting high quality ideas and mental models into your brain. And out of 130 some billionaire books I've read, those are the top 10 that I think are just pure gold. So you can't go wrong reading any of those 10, honestly, or all of them. So that would be one thing. The other thing is I would just make sure you're not getting sucked too deep into generic social media and news and negative people. And you have to delete those things and delete the stress out of your life and get yourself healthy, like ultra healthy, whether it's CrossFit, Orange Theory, walking 15,000 steps a day, whatever it is, live in a healthy place if you can, make sure you choose a healthy partner if you can. And generic media and social media can be very negative and pessimistic. But when I'm on social media, I go out of my way to share links and heart and favorite and follow artificial intelligence nerds, things related to family or being a good husband or being ultra healthy. So my feed is just full of things that make me better. If your feed is full of junk, you need to turn it off or just go out of your way to make sure that you're customizing your feed based on actions and things you spend time on. I think that would change probably things more than anything else that you could do. Besides obviously joining Doctors Investor Club and checking out our events, of course, we're biased on that, but I pick every investor and speaker that goes on stage, and I script every question that gets asked, so we keep it really fun and interesting.
Yes. And so, all right. So on the Doctors Investor Club, we talked about the AI tools. We talked about the app where we can all connect. Live events. So where are the live events located, and what can a doctor expect? First of all, is it free for them to come to the live event, and what can they expect when they show up?
Yeah, sure. So I'll share my screen real quick just to show our website with the event schedule. But essentially, if you can see the backdrop on this homepage image, that's like one of our larger events. We have 400 to 1,000 person events every quarter. When we're saying that we're hosting 30 events next year, or that we have 5 more events this year, just so you know, we have 4 events in early November, and then we have our December 9th to 11th annual event in Fort Lauderdale. And what we've done is try to make it easy for everyone in the United States to come to our events. And how do we do that? We have all of our events in just 4 cities that are nicely spread out to major airport hubs. So about a fourth of our events are in Dallas, Texas. Another fourth are in Los Angeles, specifically Beverly Hills. Another fourth are in Fort Lauderdale, the hit South Florida. And another fourth are in New York City, typically right there in Midtown Manhattan. And so you can come and have a couple other business meetings around it. You could come and enjoy some time with your spouse. We encourage you to bring your spouse and your child to the event with you. Open up your college kid or even your 8-year-old or 12-year-old's eyes to business and investing, or talk to them about what you're thinking about related to these areas. So make sure you bring family if you can. It makes it more fun. Bring a friend, another doctor friend if you want to. And you can see our schedule of events at any time by going to familyoffices.com. But we also update the schedule within the Doctors Investor Club app. But we have the full schedule of events here. And essentially what we're doing is hosting a couple dozen investor mastermind workshop type themed events a year in those 4 cities, and then 4 to 5 of these bigger, larger investor summits. And there's no cost to come to the event, just like there's no cost to come to Doctors Investor Club. Our goal is just to have 1,000 people in the club and have a couple dozen coming to these events every month or two. And we know not any one of you doctors and physicians are going to come to all 30 events next year. But if you can make it out to 2 to 4, or if you want to come to 1 a quarter, or if you want to come to 5 to 10 of them, like all of that is great with us. But we know that you're busy, and that's why we have a lot of events to choose from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the event's phenomenal. And I will be speaking November 4th in Dallas at the Family Office event. And a couple of things. I mean, just another connection I thought of. So I have an event next week, Legacy RX Conference. And first of all, it's crazy the amount of time and effort that gets put into these events. So I'm impressed with you and your team to be able to put on that many.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Right. No, it takes a village for sure. But the other connection I got during the last investor summit in Beverly Hills was Kenny Ananuke, who was a Super Bowl champ with Denver Broncos, and you connected us, and it was just a great relationship. And so he actually agreed to come speak at my event next weekend in Indianapolis.
Awesome.
Which is just cool. We built a cool relationship. So great guy.
Yeah.
That's just an example of what you get at these events.
Yeah, exactly. Like at the dinner at the last event, there was someone there with a YouTube channel with millions of followers that you knew, who was actually the way that we met. There was multiple NBA world champions, NFL champions, other pro athletes. There was an undefeated UFC pro athlete there. We had multiple decamillionaires who had sold their companies, multiple $100 million plus net worth families, one of them who I help as their chief investment officer. We also had just people that were well known, right? Like at our event before, we had the founder of the E Channel who sold for $2 billion. We had a billionaire real estate investor, and my one of my clients, he owns 47 medical practices and started out as a doctor. And so to me, it's just humbling but exciting that after 18 years doing this, I started at just 26 years old, that we even have those people showing up at our events and taking the time to come, even though like we've done it 300 times now. It's still something like, wow, it's crazy that like that these people are at this dinner right now. It's amazing. And then that's the motivation to keep up the hard work, because my competition is 65 to 80 years old, and I'm just getting started, and we're trying to do things the right way for the long term. And we keep on finding that like in this space, people talk to each other. They don't want to waste their time. They're very careful on who they trust. It's all about trust. And so we keep finding that the high integrity, high execution, experienced entrepreneur who's a class act is the person who wins. Like that's who raises the capital. That's who gets the deal closed. That's who investors trust. That's who doctors should trust. And you need to meet in person and get to know people over time and not rush into things, or you'll lose a lot of money pretty quickly. And one of my favorite quotes about investing is that if you do not grow your financial IQ faster than your financial net worth, then people around you will correct that very quickly. And they will bring your net worth right down to wherever your IQ is. So you always want your IQ to be up ahead of your net worth. You may feel like you're a 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10 executor, operator, but you're stuck in a 5 out of 10 position at wherever you're at in your career or in your business. That's common with a lot of high performers. They know they could do more than what's been in front of them so far. You just have to make sure that your financial IQ is always growing, because then otherwise a spike in financial net worth is just going to come right back down. Famously, like every lottery winner, like many pro athletes, I went to A-Rod's house once to pitch a deal that someone else was pitching. Some other Hall of Fame players were pitching to A-Rod. And he said that that's so common. He was doing a documentary on it, just helping pro athletes not lose money because they created wealth too fast. And it's all related to that financial IQ quote.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love that. And truth be told, I mean, professional athletes make beaucoup money. There's no question. I think physicians are on a similar level when it comes to make good money, but don't know what to do with it, right? And so,
Sure.
We pay a ton in taxes, we pay a ton in interest throughout our lifetime, and then lifestyle expenses creep. And so doctors almost live paycheck to paycheck. And again, sadly, like, NBA players, NFL, they make a lot more money in shorter amount of time. But they basically blow a lot of that money. And so, they're definitely on a different level than us, but physicians are, highest paid person out there, I guess, or job.
Professional. Professional. Yeah. People talk about doctors and attorneys as some of the higher paid professions out there, right? So I think also it's like when you're around positive people who have done amazing things, who are optimistic, most of the naysayers in life are people that are at your level or below your level. Most people who critique and are super negative, they're just complaining their way through life. People who are very successful are usually the ones who are more giving. If you read any article written by a journalist, they'll paint the ultra successful as the devil, 99 times out of 100, especially the white male ultra successful person. But you meet them in person, they're generous, they're high energy, they're ridiculously hardworking much of the time. They show what's possible. And like Sam Zell says, he just likes to live life full throttle and go for things. And Steve Jobs says, once you realize that you can poke the world, change the shape a little bit, and it actually responds and things actually happen, and you're like, holy crap, I can just like go out and do these things and good things are happening. It's inspiring and exciting and empowering. And it doesn't even matter if you don't connect with anyone to get money from. Like, it's not about like, oh, and I get capital from someone and then it's going to help me. It's more like just getting in the mindset of what could be possible and opening up possibilities versus having like a more closed mindset.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Yeah. And to your point, like, I think we should challenge the listeners and myself to read a lot more billionaire books. I have the list from billionaires.com, and I've read the Eli Broad book, which is fantastic. And there's a whole list of others that still need to dive into. And so I would challenge the listeners, let's start reading those books. Let's start thinking more like billionaires, because that's what is going to get you from middle-class mindset or scarcity mindset to thinking more abundantly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if I can read 131 billionaire books in 3 years, which I wish I was through all 245 already, to be honest, it feels slow motion. But if I can read 131, you guys can all read 10 of them over the next year, right? Like one book a month. You miss a couple months if you're busy traveling in the summer maybe or something, but 10 books in a year from billionaires. I mean, that alone can be worth more than an MBA in business or an MBA in investing. Because you know what? Most of the people who teach an MBA are professors who study theory and want to show you the economic, elasticity of price, et cetera, and all these theories. The billionaires, it's like they're the ones who've actually done it. Don't read best-selling books that everybody's reading, like Atomic Habits. Like, forget Atomic Habits. Read books from people that have made billions of dollars, and who cares if their book was not a bestseller? I just want the thoughts straight from a billionaire's mind into my mind. I want to be injected with their mental models, not whoever is good at marketing their book,
Great point. That's a really good point. Yep. Well, Richard, we appreciate you. You are, you're talking about your 18 years of doing this and all the events you've put on and all the people that continue to come and support you. And everybody I talk to, basically everybody says the same thing, that you're high integrity, great guy. They love being around you. And so you are obviously very good at what you do. And we are blessed to be able to partner with you on this. And so for all you listeners out there, doctors, dentists, get on doctorsinvestorclub.com and you can find these AI tools. You can join the Circle app and you can join in on the fun of these live events.
Yeah, exactly. It takes literally 5 seconds to fill out the form at Doctors Investor Club. Goes to my executive assistant. She looks at it for 2 to 5 minutes, make sure people are a doctor, only letting doctors in, and dentists. And then we will get you a link so you can get right into the mobile app, connect with other doctors in the club, and then you just let us know what events you want to come to. And it's really that easy. There's no upsell for a $30,000 mastermind. There's no even option for that. Like it's not only not the main thing we're offering you, it's literally not even an option to spend a bunch of money with us. We just want you to come to the events for free and get involved in the community. So appreciate it. Thank you for having me on here, Kyle.
Absolutely. We'll talk soon, Richard. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
This is my time. I'm on the rise. Can't hold me down. I'm too fly. This is my time.
Thanks for listening to the Doctors Investor Club podcast. I hope today's conversation inspired you to think bigger, dream bolder, and take the next step toward financial freedom. If you're a doctor or dentist and you're ready to join our community, head over to doctorsinvestorclub.com. Our mobile app and forum are free for physicians and dentists. You'll find AI tools, curated investor resources, and live events. And if you want VIP access to private dinners, exclusive deals, and opportunities to speak on stage, it's free when you refer 3 colleagues. Subscribe to the show, share it with a colleague, and remember, you're not just building wealth, you're building a legacy.
Watch out, here I come. This is my time. I'm on the rise.